Hello again, Autodesk people, and welcome to yet another session of tips and tricks on Fabrication CADmep 2017. Alright, so the next video that we're doing here is going to be on how we go about making 3D models of piping and then doing dimensions and some simple annotations on how we go about doing that. So let's take a look at how we would dimension some piping here. And what I want to do here is I just want to kind of expand on what's happening here. So I'm going to zoom into this pipe. I'm going to activate this current design line here, and I'm going to continue the process of adding more vertical and kind of looping around and making maybe even some elbows and some T's and crosses and stuff like that. So in order to do that, I just want to start by erasing the element, the design line's three-dimensional components there, and then I want to continue adding. So let's do this. We're going to have some 6-inch piping. We're going to connect it here, and then we're going to raise to an elevation of like 12 feet or something like that. So 12 feet is 144 inches. I'll go ahead and change the elevation. By pressing the riser button here, it'll do a vertical. But if you press and hold it, it'll actually do different things like a riser at 45 degrees. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then I'll kind of route this direction. And let's go a little further, I guess. And just kind of loop around these rooms here. Okay, then I'll add the 3D elements. And let's go take a look at what this looks like in 3D. So I'm a big fan of doing two views. I want to see a top view, which is typically where I work, and then I also want to see a 3D view that would help me make sense of what the routing looks like. So here I can see that I've made an elevation change rising up to using a couple of 45s rising up and over. So I can see, that's interesting, I can see that I've got the an interference here with the architectural wall at 45 degrees plus this riser up at 45 degrees. So how do we fix that? So let's take a look at one unique way to do that. There's this tool called the section tool, and this section tool allows me to say, okay, pick a view location. So this is my view location, and what it does is it just flips it up into that orientation. So I'm looking at it, this will make sense. I'm looking at it in this direction here, okay? What I want to do is I want to look at it in this direction. All right, so let's go ahead and end the section view here. So I just click end, and I want to pick the view looking in this direction. So now I can see my piping and all of the other elements here with that direction. Oh, and incidentally, I have my architectural file, so it's kind of blocking my view here. So let's do this. Let's turn off the XREF for both of these. Unload. Okay. And, oh, let me do that one more time. And just grab this guy in that direction. And let's do conceptual. Oh, am I not? Oh, okay. I'm not grabbing past it is what's happening here. So let me end it one more time. And let's go to a 2D wireframe. And let's go past it this time. So I was stopping just short of it. So really what I want to do is, again, I just want to take this and push it over that direction. So I can grab my classic stretch command, my AutoCAD classic stretch command, and just pull it over this direction, okay? And let me put this back into 2D here. So I'll end that view. And let me pull up my XREF here. So let's go ahead and reload both of these. Okay, they're both on. Now, if I apply the three-dimensional items there, you can see how that automatically stretched back. So I love working with the design line itself. The problem when you work with this is you can disconnect the piping itself from the design line, so you're left with parts that are not connected properly. So I always erase the 3D and then reapply, work with just the center line and then reapply the 3D. People will find different ways to manage that, but that's how I like to do it. All right, so let's do some dimensions here. Let's do some 3D dimensions, and I'll try to do a couple of additional features here to help us with this, okay? So let's do another 4-inch run here. It's going to be a tap off the side, and I'll pick the nearest from here. Oh, I was inserting a part, so what I wanted to do is insert more design line here. So I'll go ahead and run this way and run this way, and then I'll add the 3-dimensional graphics. Okay, so let's start the process of dimensioning. So what I'll do is I'll make the current viewport the one and only viewport. So if you click in the 3D viewport, you can go to a single view here, okay? Conversely, if you click in the plan view and then go to a single viewport, it will make that one currently active. All right, so let's do some spool dimensions. Of course, you have your annotation tools here, and you can use your dimension tool. I'm a big fan of the SpoolDim tool. It's you'll find it in the batch spool processing toolkit here. Just do the SpoolDim, right? And it'll ask you to enter your points, and maybe you just want to do an overall spool dimension of that current length. Maybe you want to start to show you know, some breakouts of these particular points. So I'm a big fan of using the SpoolDim because it's pretty easy to use. That's how you would do it in a 2D plan. Let's take a look at what that looks like in a 3D plan. So let's in a 3D view. So what we want to do is we want to go center to center, which is what we've done here. Let's do a couple of other dimensions. Let's do center to end. Right? So let's figure out where the center to end is. So here's in blue, here's the end. And I'm just writing sloppy here because it's my mouse. And then here's the center line of this next pipe. So here's the center line. So what we want to do is we want to make a new measurement that goes from the end of this pipe to the center line here, and we want to see what that dimension looks like. Okay, so let's try that out. So here's the same spool command. I'll grab the endpoint here, and then I will notice it wants to snap to the end. I can also snap to the center here. I think I need to snap to the node. I'll just type node. Where is my node? Oh, it's wanting to grab the dimension over there. All right, let's grab the node. All right, so I figured out what was going on with my previous attempt here at at doing spool dimensions. The spool dimension tool, okay? It doesn't run based off of your running snaps. So if I look at my running snaps, here's my OSnap settings. My running snaps are currently set to endpoint, midpoint, and intersection. Okay. Now, what it runs off of is this thing called the spool ini setting. So if you type spool ini.ini and do a search for your spool setting here, I'll take a look at this particular folder. Now down at the bottom it says that the SpoolDim snaps are currently set to 13. So I just went and changed that. And what that means here is if I take a look at my current snap settings, the endpoint, the midpoint, and the intersection are turned on, okay? So let's take a look at what that actually means. If I go to my Express tools, I've got a system variable here. Now OS mode is the OSnap mode tool. So this sets the running snap objects, the running object snaps. Okay, so the setting is stored as a bit code using the sum of the following values. So currently it's set to 35. And what that means is I've got endpoint, midpoint, and I think I have, what's the last one? Intersection. So it's set to 35. So endpoint, midpoint, and intersection add up to 35. Okay, so what I really want is I want to be able to do the endpoint, I want to do the centers, but I also want to do the node, and only those three. Okay, so this is an easy way of getting that that system variable mode, OS mode. So now if I check on the endpoint, the center, and the node, that adds up to 13. So that value here that you see here, that's what I replaced in my spool.ini directory. So again, I typed spool.ini and I searched my documents. And once I opened it up, I think it was set to 8 before, or something like 11 maybe. And so I had to make a change, obviously, to get that to be where it was, to 13. All right, so now that I have that, here's what happens, and here's the overall effect of doing what I did here. So I'll go ahead and SpoolDim, and earlier you saw me go from from center to center here. So I was able to put that overall dimension here, as you can see. But now I can go end to end. So let's do a couple of interesting dimensions right here. So I'll just use my SpoolDim command. I'll go center to end if I wanted to, right? So that's my center to end. And I want to click one of three. Let's do this one so I can get the vertical, right? So there's the vertical center to end, and then I could even do an end to end, which was the last requirement here. So again, I'll use the spool command. I'll go to the end and pull that off to the side. So irrelevant of whether you have your running snaps on or off, you'll see here now that they're off. So if I try to draw line work, it's not going to snap to anything. Oh, did I not turn it off? I left it on somehow. Okay. So my snaps have been turned off, and I can't snap to any existing line work there, right? However, if I use the standard dimension command, watch this. Here's the standard dimension command. Again, I cannot snap to it, right? However, if I use the SpoolDim command, it takes over from the properties that are defined in that spool.ini file. So that's an easy way to do it. So that's just the plan view. Let's flip this up to a 3D view and see what kind of results we can get. All right, so let's document the vertical rise over here in a 3D view. All right, let's zoom in and see what we can get. So here's the SpoolDim, and I want to go from center to center. And it's saying here that there's 2 feet of distance, so that's vertical distance, and then I've got 1 of 5 possible dimensions. So I'll go ahead and cycle through these until I get what I need. So here's a dimension. I want to do that one more time, and I can do a vertical dimension here based off of the overall height of what I changed. So you can see that one here. Let's do one more of the vertical change here, and let's go through all 5 possibilities. Let's see what it'll give us. So here, maybe this might be a little bit more intuitive as to where that's landing. Let's go to the next one. We can see that it's a horizontal dimension here, so from the plan view, and then we can see the overall length, end to end. In this case, it's end to end. So I'll go ahead and drop that one right here, and I should probably change this to a conceptual so we can see these numbers a little bit better here. And let's change the layer color to pop against that that color. So let's make it like a magenta or something like that. Of course, I changed everything there, but anyway, I think we'll be okay here. That's how we can do spool dimensions. I'm a big fan of the SpoolDim tool because it's more intuitive than trying to play around with these guys. I think there's even a way that we can oblique the text itself. So once I select that spool dimension, I can come in here and oblique that text if I remember right how to do that. Where is that control? I'll have to look that up, but I thought there was a way that we could oblique things. So best fit. I forget how to do that. It's not important. What's important is getting the dimension in space there. So absolutely ways that we can document that both in 2D and 3D fully dimensioned.